Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 10 of Project Ozone 3. Look at how our base has grown. Actually, I guess it's a large platform, but a lot of it's still empty. We have a lot of space to use up. Anyways, moving on. Last episode we made all the Lordcraft crystals, which means that this episode we can move into the other magic mods. And I'm thinking let's start with Botania. Why? Because I just think I haven't. Have I done Botania on camera before? I don't think so. And if I have, it's very little of it. But I really like this mod, so let's jump right into it. First thing we have to do, because the mystical flowers that produce, the petals and stuff that Botania uses doesn't spawn in any dimension, we have to make them. They're made from bright crystals from Lordcraft and any dye. And turns out blue dye is lapis. I believe that works. So let's make some. Let's see, blue dye. Alright, there's 4 stacks of it. Now, normally, you use this stuff by clicking it onto dirt. Let's get a small patch of dirt. Whoops. Where do we want to set this up? Let's do it, I guess just keep growing sideways. So, let's set up a small patch of dirt. I love these, various little gadgets. And you right click on it, and it randomly plants a few flowers. But then you have to go hit the flowers to pick them up. And even though this isn't much, I'd like to even automate this step. So let's build a little gadget that makes this easier. And here it is. So to walk you through it, the idea is that we have pistons shoving a little chunk of dirt back and forth. That'll cause anything that is on the dirt to pop off when that happens. So all you have to do, or we can even set up a dispenser for this, is spam right click on that, and the shaker, we can call this a shaker I guess, will automatically cause all the drops to pop off. Now, we're not quite done yet because we still need something to automatically pick up these drops, but let me walk you through how this works. It's pretty simple. We start with a clock generator, a pulse generator. If the pulse is too short, we need a pulse lengthener. And then we just have 2 sets of pistons. One set is, want a couple ticks delayed from the other, which is what these repeaters are for. And yeah, they just shove the dirt back and forth. So next up, we need to set up something to wirelessly or, remotely suck these items up and put them into probably a drawer system for now. Also, there is a off switch here for our sanity because the system is ridiculously loud. I guess it makes more sense to put the off switch here so that we can turn off the clock generator as well. Where are my levers? It'll be a little bit nicer on the server to turn the clock off. Oops, does that not turn it off? Does that turn it off? Oh, you have to turn on the turn it off setting. There we go. All right. So let me set up that pickup system. And here's the system in its entire glory. The drops are picked up by a advanced item collector and shoved into this drawer system, which also acts as a filter, right? So I can't pick up other stuff. Like you can't pick up my buckets, even though it is in the item collector range, because there's nowhere in the drawer system to put them. So this will produce all the flowers we need. We still have to, turn the flowers into petals and so on and so forth. I also added a hopper here to automatically feed the fertilizer into our mechanical user, which is what's actually clicking them on the dirt. So cool. The generation of flowers is now fully automated. The next step then is to make the petal apothecary and the pure daisy. The pure daisy is one of the first useful flowers we use, and let's see if I can show you what it does. Its purpose is to turn stone into living rock, wood into living stone, and that's most of what we're going to do with it for now. Actually, that's all we're going to do with it for now. So let's go and craft the petal apothecary. So here's our petal apothecary. I set up a basic system that automatically refills it with water. All it is a mechanical user right-clicking it with water bottle or water buckets that's being refilled by a tank that's being refilled by a sink. So the way it works is you have to put petals into it. And for what we're making now, the pure daisy, it's 4 white petals. So you can, I believe you have to throw them in. And then you have to throw a seeds in. And when you're done, it produces the item. And as a convenience, it says right click with an empty hand to add back the last recipe. So we can just do that again. And there we go, 2 pure daisies. We're actually going to need more than 2, so let's make a few more. Now with these, oops, that's not seeds. With these, we can now begin the process of making living wood and living stone. But my preferred way of so the way that this process works is that you place stone or wood in the 8 blocks adjacent to the pure daisy, and after 60 seconds, I believe, it turns into the respective block. So there's a couple ways we could go about this. You could just use a simple timer to say at timer 0 you place the block, at timer 60, maybe 61 seconds you pick up the block, and that'll work. But actually, I'd like to automate this using formation and annihilation planes from Applied Energistics. So you're probably thinking, but Jimmy, if we can do Applied Energistics, why are you doing magic bonds instead of Applied Energistics? That's a good question. So, taking a look at these recipes, I believe we can actually make them with the we can make all these like processors and stuff. There's one small challenge in getting the processor plates. We could either make this laser cutter. I wonder what that takes. It takes mechanism, so I don't think we can make that. Or, oh wow, this makes it very quick. Very interesting. I haven't seen this recipe before, but anyways, we can make the Applied Energistics components, but we cannot make the process or the ME controller. If we take a look at the recipe for this we have to get into pneumatic craft, blood magic, and mechanism before we can do. So that means we are limited to channel-less networks, I believe, because we can also make the energy acceptor. Because we can make these, we are limited to channel-less AE2 networks. So good news is we can make these, like these small crafting networks tend to not care about channels, whereas your main, the bulk of your AE network does. So let's take the world's potentially longest detour and go get the inscriber plates we need to make these. So these inscriber plates normally are found in the meteorites. But, in a void world, there's obviously no meteorites. I did some searching online, and it turns out that the meteorites do spawn in a couple dimensions. First, there's a mining dimension, but if we look at the recipe for the mining multi-tool, which is how you get into the mining dimension, we're going to need to get way further into Astral Sorcery before we can do that. So that's off the table. The other one, though, is the Lost Cities dimension. And that's much easier to get into. It just takes like a bed. I don't think there's like a single block that you have to build, but it takes like a bed surrounded by skulls or something. So I think there's a quest book tab for it, or at least a quest for it. Lost Cities dimension. So yeah, a bed, a block of lava crystals, and some skulls. And how do I make this? Is this going to be significantly more difficult than I thought? 1 second. So the tooltip says can be obtained by mining lava or crystal, which typically generates in the nether. Let's take a look in the nether and see if that generates. I swear there's a crafting recipe for it though, but maybe that's been disabled in Kappa mode. It uses like this, lava infuser. Oh, that's how you upgrade lava crystals into infused lava crystals. I see. So we still have to get lava crystals as a drop. I'm pretty sure they just generate in the nether then. So if memory serves me right, this stuff generates near the lava puddles or not lava puddles, but like the lava lakes, oceans in the nether. So is this it? Sure looks like it. Or lava crystal. Yep. Let's mine that up. Alright, so yeah, I'm going to need a little bit of this. I think it was 2 blocks, so that's like 9 crystals minimum. Oh. I wonder what's under this. Oh hey, if I just vein mine this, I'll find more. Perfect. Alright, well let's get the lava crystals we need and head back. So if I recall, the portal is made by placing 2 lava crystal, or the 2 base blocks. I think they're diamond blocks in by default, but I guess if the mod pack changes that on top, or put a bed on top of that. So let's make ourselves bed. And then surrounding that with skulls. I think any type of mob skull works. And I think when you click the bed, you get teleported to the Lost Cities dimension. Cool. How do I get back? I mean, I have the /home command. I guess I could use that to get back. But I probably should have thought about how to get back before I came here, huh? Anyways, I'll just plan on using /home to get back. I was planning on using that as little as possible, but whatever. So now that we're in the Lost Cities dimension, let's go and look for the meteorites. Let's actually make one more thing. The meteorite compass. I believe this will help us find the meteorites. Uh-oh, it's spinning, showing there are no meteorites. Well, that might be bad news. I'm going to let the terrain generation progress for a while, and we'll see if it happens to find any. Alright, so the terrain generation's caught up, and it's still showing no meteorites around. I went and double-checked the configs, and indeed, meteorites are only slated to generate in Dimension 0, which is the overworld, which has nowhere for them to generate, and Dimension -6, which is the mining dimension. So our options to get the presses are either to make them through the I forgot what mechanism it was that we have to make it, but through mystical agriculture, or to get them through the mining dimension. We cannot get them here in the Lost Cities dimension, so that's a bust. We'll have to come back to apply Energistics later then. Instead, let's head back to the overworld. I remember we have these overworld apples that can teleport us back. And vroom vroom. Whoa, we're back. So this didn't get us anywhere, but let's forget about our detour then, and we'll go ahead and make our mystical flower setup using timers, I guess. And here it is, our beautiful yet totally ugly living stone and living wood automation. So let's walk it through it from the beginning. We have block breakers on top. That well, I guess if we're starting from the beginning, let's start with block placers. We have block placers on bottom that are being supplied with stone on one side and wood on the other. They come from the drawer system, and these block placers, when they receive a redstone signal, will place blocks once. Cool. So on the other side, we have block breakers, and these, when they receive a redstone signal, will break the block and either put it in the inventory above, if there is one, which there isn't, and if there isn't, it'll spit it out onto the ground and it'll get picked up by that. And look, our blocks just formed, or change, which means that in about 5 seconds, I wonder why this one isn't working. Oh, it's not connected. So the way I have this timer set up is that every 1300 ticks, which I believe is 65 seconds, it'll fire a pulse. The pulse will activate all of our block breakers, and then on a slight delay, activate all of the block placers. Let's go fix that one that wasn't hooked up, because that's obviously not going to work. Let's see. I also grabbed one of our conduit probes from the mob farm, because this involved a lot of copy-pasting conduit settings. So I think it was that one, right? And this one should start receiving cobblestone soon. We're probably out of, or smooth stone, sorry. But we're probably out of stone in our drawers. So because it's not hooked up to our main storage system or anything, we still have to manually provide it with stone and wood. Yeah, the stone was out. So this one will have stone for the next cycle. Perfect. So there we have it. In a couple seconds, it all gets picked up and new blocks get placed down. And all the completed product goes in here. So with that, that completes our Livingwood and Livingstone automation. It's pretty slow because it only does 8 blocks of each per minute, but we don't need a tremendous amount of this, at least not for now. So it's slow, but it's fast enough. And over here, I think this has gone through all of our floral fertilizer, so we can turn it off and not have to listen to that piston sound go off, every couple seconds. All right, so what's next? Let's see. Back to Botania. The next, we could either, let's see, so we need mana spreaders, ways to produce mana, as well as mana pools and runic altars. So let's get all of those because they kind of work together. So the mana is like the resource in Botania. It's generated by flowers. There's a couple options that they recommend. Well, they recommend 2 options here. The Endo Flame, which burns furnace fuels and is very simple to make and automate because you just throw fuel on it. And the Rosa Arcana, which turns experience orbs into mana, either from the player or on the ground. So I think both of these are reasonable options. I think because it's easier, let's start with the Endo Flame. Making us some Endo Flames. One tool you'll definitely need when doing Botania is the Wand of the Forest. And it acts kind of like a wrench, but it goes above and beyond what most wrenches do. And the cute thing about this is you can actually choose what color petals to make it out of, so you can, customize your wand. I think you get to decorate 2 of the 3 petals. The third one is always green. So for me, having graduated from the University of Michigan, I pick maize and blue. Go blue. I also forgot to make the Livingwood twigs first. Whoops. So anyways, we're going to definitely want our Wand of the Forest. And you know what? No, I was going to make a spare, but I forgot to make more twigs. All right, so I have Mana Spreader, Mana Pool, and some number of Endo Flames. And I'm thinking I actually need more Mana Spreaders. So let's make 4. So Mana Pools, as you might have guessed, hold mana. Where do we want to put our mana generation? Let's put it here. And I'll put the pool on this side. So mana generating flowers, they generate mana. Mana spreaders can be used to transport mana, and mana pools hold mana. Seems logical enough, right? So the way this works is we want to place our mana spreaders pointed at the mana pool. Well, we want to place our mana spreaders anywhere, and then point them at the mana pool. So let's do 3 for now. And with that, you want to take your Wand of the Forest. It has a couple modes. If you just shift right click in the air, you can change it. We want them in bind mode. I think the way it works is you shift right click the spreader, and then shift right click the mana pool. So this way you can see where they're bound. And there's that animation to show you where they're pointed. Next, we have to bind the flowers to the spreaders, and to do so, we need some dirt. Alright, and that's because flowers only grow on dirt. So when you place a flower down, I think the default behavior is that it binds to the nearest mana spreader, which generally speaking is fine. So let's place our flowers down. Mana spreaders do have a limit on how much mana they can transfer, per unit time. But it's a pretty high limit, so we're not worried about reaching it yet. Although with some of the higher tier generating flowers, that does become a legitimate concern. So we have a bunch of Endo Flames. Let's check real quick to make sure they're all linked. You see that if there's a check mark, that means that they're linked. And if there isn't one, I think it'll be a red X if they're not. So all of our Endo Flames are linked. Let's get them some fuel. So as I said, these run on furnace fuel, so we can just get, let's get coal, I guess, because we have a lot of it. And we can just throw it on the ground near the flowers, and they will pick it up and consume it. And you see now that they're burning, this little flame on them is lit. And if we look at them with the wand, when you I guess it doesn't say anything, but when you right click the mana spreader, you can see that a little bit of mana is going into it, and then when it reaches a certain amount, it's shooting it into our mana pool. And if you look at the mana pool, it's slowly filling up. one mana pool can hold a tremendous amount of mana. So don't worry about the fact that it takes a long time to fill up. It also takes quite a while to drain unless you're doing some very specific things. So for now, we have a fair number of flowers, but to feed them, fuel every 20-30 seconds or something, we have to throw coal on them, which isn't quite optimal, right? If you have to do this, that kind of defeats the purpose, or you're gonna have to be here babysitting them the whole time. So let's set up a system that will automatically feed them fuel as needed. And I almost forgot, we started the map with the Lexica Botania. This is the documentation book for Botania, and in my opinion, it is one of the best documentation books in the one of the best documentation books in Minecraft. It's very thorough, easy to use, and it lets you know that Botania has been updated, which I guess is nice. So yeah, in this case, I was curious about how one of these flowers worked. So I was going to come here and see, how does a hopper hawk work? Because my plan is to use this as part of the automated feeding system. And specifically, I know that is there a way that I can make it ignore items for a few seconds after they've been dropped? And it doesn't say. I thought there was. Well, guess not. All right. Anyways, I'll come up with a way to make this work. All right. Here's a pretty simple low-tech solution to this problem. So what I have is a drawer holding some coal, and in fact, it's pretty low on coal. So let's grab a little more, and we just shove as much coal as we'd like in there. Then that feeds coal through, let's see, it extracts on the brown channel and feeds that into here, which is an open crate. That's basically a dropper that automatically drops items straight down and doesn't require, ticking redstone to work. Now, as you can see, it's clearly dropping fuel way faster than we can use it, right? So if we just leave it there, that'll all despawn. That's not good. So what I have then is a vacuum chest filtered to only suck up coal, and I have it set on range 4, which if you see covers where it's being dropped, and on active with redstone signal only. So what I have here is a what's this called? A sequencer. And basically what this does, it generates a more or less arbitrary redstone sequence. So the sequence I'm generating is 1 period of on followed by 7 periods of off. Because I say sequence length is 8, it ignores everything beyond the first 8 dots. This sequencer is a pretty complicated, although very powerful block. If you want to read more about it, there's a bit of documentation about it. But essentially what it does is it turns the vacuum chest on for 10 seconds, right, 200 ticks, and then it leaves it off for 70 seconds, or 7 times 200 ticks. And that means that the items will spend at most 70 seconds on the ground before they get sucked up into the vacuum chest again, where they, continue to go through this loop. Like this, the items will never despawn because they're never on the ground for long enough to despawn, but there will always be fuel available for these endo flames to pick up whenever they want, another bite of fuel. So with this, we have our first very basic mana generation system made, and there we go. We just saw the mana get sucked up. So if you can't tell yet, Botania, I really feel like it's all about building systems, like micro automation systems, self-sustaining stuff, so that you don't have to do work yourself. Now, everything we have here is, it's in its own little microcosm, right? This system isn't linked to any of our other systems, so we still have to manually feed it inputs, and, we have to manually take the outputs and use them. But once we get like an applied energistics system, we can start linking all these microsystems together into one big macro system. Anyways, in the time that we spent building and talking, we have about 1/8 of a mana pool, which is pretty good. So let's see where the quests want us to go next. So I think the next thing we should do is make the Runic altar. The Runic altar is one of my all-time favorite crafting mechanics. The way it works is that you throw items onto it, and then you blast it with mana for a while, and then once it has enough mana, you have to complete the crafting process by throwing a piece of what's this called? Living rock on it, and then hitting it with the wand of the forest. It provides a very interesting and somewhat challenging automation challenge. So let's tackle that next. To start, we have to build the Runic altar. Before we can craft the Runic altar, we have to make mana pearls, and that's a great opportunity to show off another one of Botania's crafting mechanics. This one's pretty simple. Once you have mana in a mana pool, there's certain items you can throw into it, and it'll consume some of the mana and, transmute the item. So let's see what it's called, mana infusion, and what can we make in there? There's a bunch of stuff. You can make like flowers, food. You can start changing food around. But yeah, there's also these catalysts that can be used to like change the behavior. So you can turn slime balls into cactuses with an alchemy catalyst. And then lastly, there are conjuration catalysts, which at the cost of mana let you dupe some items. None of it is like particularly exciting items. You don't get to dupe arbitrary items, but it's like, I mean, who cares about duping leaves, right? But I guess if you find yourself, I'm sure some mod packs take better advantage of this. They intentionally make lodestone dust very hard to get, and your intended way of making it is through the conjuration catalyst. But anyways, now that we have our mana diamonds, we can make a Runic altar. So the way a Runic altar works is first we want to place it somewhere where we can blast it with mana from our mana pool. And let's get a couple more mana spreaders to help with that. The more mana spreaders you have blasting mana at it, the faster the crafting goes. And I'm a fan of fast crafting, so anyways, let's link all these. Cool. I hope, yeah, those mana spreaders on the side should hit the one in front, I think. So technically, this is all we need to start crafting with the Runic altar. Let's see. Let's start by crafting some runes then. Now, if we use it like this, we're doing it fully manually, but you start crafting manually, right? So these runes have pretty heavily modified recipes. All right, let me find something I can make in the Runic altar just to demonstrate how to use it. All right, well, I went through every Runic altar recipe and we can't do any of them yet. So there's that. The recipe for the basic Botania runes. So Botania runes are broken into 3 tiers. There's like tier 1, which is the elements, water, fire, earth, air, and mana. Somewhere. Anyways, tier 2 are the seasons. So spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And here's mana. For some reason, mana is with it, but it is a tier 1 rune because it doesn't take any tier 1 runes to craft like the tier 2s do. Right, the tier 2s take 2 tier 1s. Anyways, and then the tier 3 runes are the 7 deadly sins. So we have lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride, which take tier 2 runes. Or no? Yeah, they take a tier 1 and a tier 2 rune to craft. But anyways, normally these take pretty basic materials, but it looks like in order to craft tier 1 runes, we need blood magic slates, so we'll have to get into blood magic, as well as Lordcraft runes, which means we need a runestone crafter, and I don't even know how to interpret this recipe right now. So we're going to have to do a bit more in Lordcraft and a bit of blood magic before we can go further in Botania, which is kind of a shame. I really like the rune crafting system as well as the like the Terra Steel. Maybe we can make Terra Steel right now. Let's take a look. Can we make a terrestrial amalgamation plate? No, we cannot because it requires the runes. All right then. Well then, how about, I think this episode's a little on the short side, but this is a very convenient breaking point. So let's break here. We'll come back next episode and move on to some of the other magic mods with the intention of getting to the point where we can make Botania runes. So I think next up we have blood magic, and then maybe we'll follow that up with a short, visit back to Lordcraft to get into the runestone crafting system. So, yeah, I hope this episode really demonstrates why I absolutely love Botania. Even though we've only done some basic stuff in it, I think this mod has, great features, lots of potential, and I'm going to enjoy using it as we move forward. So I hope you like this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.